One of Dead by Daylight's most popular and wholesome streamers, Lilith Omen, was recently banned from the game for the next 10 years. Don't worry though, after bringing this up on Twitter, he was quickly unbanned after about just 20 minutes. That's because he has that premium Twitter insurance to make sure he doesn't lose thousands of hours of dedication or whatever amount of money he sunk into the game in the blink of an eye for no reason. However, what about the normies out there, the players who maybe have thousands of hours themselves with 0 bans on record, but out of the blue they're banned for 10 years with 0 way to defend themselves because they just didn't get that Twitter insurance? Let's take a look at a recent example of one of the many people that have DM'd me lately with this exact scenario. An Xbox player with 4,000 hours who was again banned for 10 years for harassment and communication abuse. Now, the immediate problem with that is that the Xbox version of DBD has no in-game form of communication. So how do you get a 10-year ban for violating something that is literally not even in the game? That doesn't seem to make any sense. If this player said something over Xbox's service, that would be Xbox's job to ban them, not behaviors, because there's no way for behavior to verify if that message was legit or not. You could easily modify any message from any person to get them banned with Photoshop if this was the case. So that doesn't work. So I brought attention to this on Twitter and it got 162,000 views, 3,200 likes, and well over 100 retweets. That's a lot of attention in the DBD Twitter sphere. The devs 100% saw this, and yet they said nothing about it specifically. However, the community manager for DBD, he's a cool guy, so don't misunderstand this, tweeted while this post was going viral and said this: "Public ban appeals. I know this is a hard thing to believe, and I'm not expecting everyone to listen to this. When you see someone online making a very sympathetic plea for a game studio to lift an unfair or false ban, they're almost always justified." And to be clear here, he's saying that the bans are justified, not the appeals. He continues on to say that we do look into it when these public posts go semi-viral and stir up all sorts of anti-studio sentiment. Now, believe it or not, I'm very much against anti-studio mindsets, witch hunting, or generalizations. However, I am big on accountability and I will always push for it, regardless of the situation or who's involved. He continues saying, most often digging into these things, which takes someone away from their other task, reveals strong reasons why an action was taken. But at this point, the damage to player trust and wasted resources has been done, and unless we start publicly shaming people, that's it. Now, I have to push back against this. Trust is not lost because players are being fairly banned. If anything, that would make us all way more comfortable, right? Player trust is being lost because of how many high-profile people have been falsely banned in the last year, and we all know it's ridiculous that usually only the high-profile victims are getting unbanned. He also says that it's a waste of developer resources and takes people away from important tasks. But I'm sorry, the studio does have this responsibility. It is their job to look into these things. And if it's really such a staffing issue, then just hire more support staff. I really don't like the idea that the community should just accept that some normal players are going to fall through the cracks and it's just no big deal. I find that completely ridiculous. On the contrary of this being a waste of studio resources, I would argue this is one of the most valid uses of studio resources. But he continues, mistakes absolutely do happen. Systems always need to be improved and refined. I would never claim any game system is perfect, but just because someone has crafted a very effective narrative about their situation, it doesn't tell the whole story of what they've gotten into. Now, obviously that's true, but I'm not sure what the thesis is here. Are we allowed to criticize the faulty system or are we not? It can't go both ways. And to be clear, I know studio members can't say exactly why people get banned. There's multiple reasons for it. One major one is that if a cheater gets banned, they don't want the cheater to know which specific cheat they were using that got them flagged, because then the people who create the cheating software will be able to work around it, right? So the only thing that really needs to be done here is the support team at Behavior needs to truly clarify that at least 2 real humans reviewed the case, or at least the appeal of the ban. Currently, Behavior will always send an automated reply that says something like, "The ban was verified by multiple team members to be accurate," and then they'll turn around and in the same breath unban the person the second they go viral in Twitter, right after sending them one of these emails that claim multiple team members viewed the appeals. Which begs the question, did real people actually verify this ban and were just horribly negligent, or is the automated reply not telling the entire truth? Because it's either one or the other, and that's where all of this mistrust is coming from. In conclusion, the community manager says, "Just felt like posting this because I've seen a recent uptick in folks doing this lately, and yes, we check every one of them, which is nice. And I'm always disappointed when the results confirm the original actions, and often more, and justify the proper consequences." He then got spammed with Twitter bots trying to steal people's account information. Now, the reason I bring this thread up is because when Lilith Omen was falsely banned, a lot of people in the DBD community were rightfully outraged and started voicing their outrage about how ridiculous it is that this could happen in the first place. If one of the biggest content creators can get banned, what hope does a normie have? And in response, the same community manager, months after this thread was created, quote tweeted his thread with a meme, which was definitely tone deaf to the valid fear that players have they're going to get randomly banned out of the blue. No shade, but you're saying this after several people, including Lilith Omen, just got falsely banned and unbanned because of it. I agree with the sentiment as a whole, but false bans do happen and they don't exactly go unnoticed. When people like Lilith Omen are getting banned for no reason and have clearly never cheated, I think I'll continue to support the people on Twitter trying to make sure their bans are valid until y'all get a more reliable ban and appeal system in place. I love you, but just some days ago, Lilith Omen was falsely banned and could get a quick solution thanks to his close contact with your team. This indeed keeps happening and is still a very concerning issue with the average player who doesn't have the same advantage to have fair attention or enough details shared. And because the team wants to keep it way too confidential, we don't know if they are actually revising it properly or not. All players deserve the same treatment and more details shared about the action taken in their accounts. There's people who spent hundreds or even over $1,000 with all of their love in this game, and they can lose that right to play forever because they're not streamers of relevance to have the same privilege to be taken a proper look. And this just goes on and on. People are really not happy about this. Another thing that just happened recently was Easy Anti-Cheat was kicking players off the game for using Reshade. And one of my viewers asked the support at Behavior if Reshade is still allowed to be used in the game or not, or if they could be banned for using it. And the support sent my viewer a message saying, "I must inform you that we do not recommend using any Reshade software. We cannot confirm or deny if using this can lead to bans, suspensions, or other actions against the accounts involved," which is just like a crazy thing to say if you consider how many people use Reshade in DBD. Yet again, going back to the same community manager, he reassured everyone that Reshade is still completely safe to use and they would make a public announcement if that ever changed. My viewer was also sent a follow-up email from the support team clarifying that it is not bannable. So it really just gives off this impression that the left foot doesn't really know what the right foot is doing internally at Behavior, and management needs to get their communication in check. Now, as some of you may know, I've been talking about this subject of false bans for about a year now, and I already have 2 videos on it because I'm always pushing for some accountability. We all know why Behavior can't tell us why a ban happened in the first place, but why can't they tell us why a false ban happened? The most obvious answer is they're ashamed. Something very negligent is happening that's leading to these false bans. Like the story I showed before where a cheater was able to get a completely innocent player banned by impersonating them. And one last thing I want to bring up, because I know it's going to be spread around in the comment section anyway, is how right before Lilith Omen was banned, he was supposedly showing his viewers some kind of low pro exploit with Blight, implying that maybe the ban was valid. But that's actually worse because that would mean he got even more severe special privilege for being who he is. And this is not meant to flame Lilith in any way. He's like the nicest person in the world, and he's 100% aware of the privilege he would was shown here. He said himself, "As much as I appreciate how quickly the ban got turned around for me, I'm aware most don't have this luxury, and I'm hoping this video serves to bring more light to the issue and goes towards changes to help the unfair bans that seemingly dozens, if not more, have been hit with. I know that ultimately they've put these measures into place to catch actual cheaters, but in my opinion, if one person loses their account unfairly, it's a failed system." And this is probably the most based comment on this entire situation. Now, if you want to see Lilith's video on the topic, or either of my two previous videos where BHVR insinuated I'm lying about all of these false bans, those links will all be down in the description. But at the end of the day, I want BHVR to understand that we want nothing more than to trust them. This is not some cringe crusade to feist the studio and make them look bad, but the repeated mistakes, the lack of accountability, and the lack of transparency are all on them. The only power we have is to kind of band together and ask for them to do a better job, right? But I guess we'll see where it goes from here. I'm curious what you all think about the situation. Let me know down in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching and have a shit day.